Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the On Time, On Target Morning Brief, where we invest with fighter pilot precision on a daily basis. Today, we have to talk again about Tesla. Just got an upgrade this morning from Goldman Sachs up to $780 a share, which is a little bit insane, but they did explain it, so we're going to peel that back a little bit. We're also going to talk about the other stuff that's going on in the headlines today as far as stimulus and if it's going to happen and how that will affect the market. If you're catching us on replay, please subscribe so you can get notifications every day when I put out the replays. And if you want to join us live, it's only $25 a month to come on in. What you don't see on screen is a Q&A window and a chat window where all of us can communicate with each other. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, welcome back. Here's our overview for the day. Make sure you have your chat window set up as well as your Q&A window set up. As far as a disclaimer, this is a financial education presentation, so you have to do your own due diligence before you act upon anything you hear in this presentation. Full disclaimer information is available at OTOTnow.com. Our mission objectives for today is to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Specifically, we're looking at growing our money through names like Tesla. I think it's overpriced here. However, it just got an upgrade today, which means guess what? It's going higher. The market's probably going higher, and Tesla's leading the way. So more and more folks are buying into the story every day. I've been pretty much wrong with Tesla across the board, and I'll admit that. And I'm even getting more wronger every day, it seems. But it doesn't change my position that the stock is overvalued. But we'll at least talk about what Goldman is saying and why they're saying it, and some of the other opinions that are out there that so far have been right. So give them their due. Bravo for them. Tesla goes higher. We'll also talk about how do upgrades and downgrades work, since that's what's kind of driving the motion in the stock today. For our flow, we'll go long, short, open, short, long. We're going to talk market review around the world. We'll talk headline review here in the U.S. We're going to the long-term investment we'll talk about is Tesla. We'll pull up that chart. We'll see what everybody's talking about, and we'll look at some of the numbers behind it. We'll do some, that's what we're going to look at today for long-term. Short, we're going to do into short-term execution. I've got in the chat window, I've got 3 longs, and I've found nothing that qualifies as a short for us. So only a few things gapping up and nothing really gapping down, which leads me to believe that market probably crawls higher today, like it's been doing every day, it seems. We'll execute that market open. We'll find a trade if we can. Remember, we were up 3R Monday, down in R Tuesday, didn't find one yesterday. We'll see what we get out of today at the open. For contingencies, if you have any issues, contact me at steve@ototnow.com, and we'll get you all squared away. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at TD Ameritrade platform and talk about the S&P 500, which is the chart you see here. It's a 1-year chart from left to right. And you have the dip back in March, pretty well straight up until almost September or so, some volatility going to the election. We had the election, and then look at us. We're just crawling higher from here. So I know that makes some folks nervous. I talk about it literally about 4 hours a day of, can the market go higher from here? Well, of course, yes, it can. And actually, that's kind of the default mode, is it does go higher. Stimulus is out there. That's going to obviously take the market higher. All the vaccine news turns to be a good news. Ate dinner with a pharmacist last night and asked lots of vaccine questions. He does say that it's real, that if you've seen the headline about the 5 to 15% are going to experience significant side effects, he, jokingly, so take this with, conversation, grain of salt, but he's kind of like, yeah, the kind of wish you were dead side effects. So kind of like if you remember the flu nasal mist when it first came out, which was the real live strain for the flu. Yeah, you kind of, it's like, did I really just give myself the flu? So he says that could be significant because it doesn't have the normal 5-year tail that it does when you're working on vaccines. So there could be a big hit to the market vaccine wise if that backlash is big. And of course, we're breaking records every day for hospitalizations, deaths, that sort of thing. So really quite the battle going on in COVID land. But, Team Human Race says the market's going higher because we're going to beat this thing. And that's where, market is very optimistic there. Okay, let's see what the last 5 days hold against S&P 500. So this was Monday. And then Tuesday we gapped up. Wednesday kind of flat, even though we were up during the day. Pretty well flat from there. So not a lot of momentum either way going into the open for today. All right, let's take a look at the futures. Excuse me. Sharing it out here. Get to a different screen. There we go. All right, futures are in the green across the board there, but just barely when you look at it. Let's take a look at Europe. Pretty well mixed in Europe, not moving a lot, less than 0.5%. Same thing in Asia, not a huge move. Hong Kong up a little over 0.5%. Here's our numbers from yesterday. So again, stock futures got positive more towards the end of the day. And again, a lot of that was stimulus talk, right? The Democrats backing down from some of their demands, if you will, and the Republicans. So I think we do get stimulus. I think the market will actually react negatively if we don't, because it's starting to get priced in that yes, we're going to get some stimulus before the end of the year. All right, bonds sold off just a little bit, but overall trending in the right direction, going up towards that 1%. Same thing with oil selling off, but we're happy to be at 45. We're in that 40 to 60 range. Gold and silver both popped a little bit yesterday, but not, I would say, significantly. But Bitcoin continues its march higher towards that kind of magic 20,000 or so. Last time we got close to 20, it dropped 15%. So we shall see. I think there's a lot of people starting to bring this into their cross check. So that means more trading, which means more up and down, not just straight up like it has been. All right, back to the headlines. Get this out here just a little bit more, and there we go. That's a screen we're normally used to here. Facebook's been in the news. If you remember, their Libra was their cryptocurrency coin that they were rolled out before. They've changed the name of it, and it's rolling out Dina, I think, Dima maybe, rolling out differently in 2021. So that's something I'm going to pay attention to. Facebook has rarely gotten stuff wrong. So, this is kind of 2.0 for their cryptocurrency. So I need to read more about that. All right. Jobless claims in this morning. Hiring continues, of course, as things, as we can, right? As things, even though we're somewhat closed down, especially in the major cities. So 2,800 deaths in a single day yesterday. Kind of crazy. Hospitals pushed to their limits. Obviously, that's a localized problem in certain areas. But even here in Austin, I know we're getting patients supposedly from El Paso, 7 hours away, are being hospitalized here in Austin. Okay. If that's true, which it has to be at least a little bit true, otherwise it couldn't be a headline. But yeah, that's bad. Yeah, you're about to die, so we're going to drive you 7 hours to the nearest hospital. That'd be bad. Okay, so here's our stimulus talk. Hopefully that happens. Here's another of that, the 900 billion stimulus bill. Yeah, I think about $1 trillion is probably about right to put at this problem. You can't spend forever. I get that, but I do think targeted stimulus is something that we probably need right now. And then I do think we're done. And again, the virus will take effect, or excuse me, the vaccine will take effect to whatever extent it will. But really, normalization could be as early as midsummer. So that'd be pretty cool. Work from home stocks, yes, those are still doing just fine. Because even if we get normal, are we all going back to work? Well, I worked from home before working from home was cool, and I will continue to do that at least till my kids graduate from high school. Then I may get a brick and mortar office. We shall see. Climate change, there's a green energy fund that I'm following that I'm putting in people's portfolios called Q Clean. Palantir is a name that we do have on our long list today over there. It's the second one. It's probably my number one long. Honestly, it's sold off for several days in a row, and it's just bouncing off of that. It's up 5% today, and I think it's going to bounce even higher. So I agree with the assessment that that is a gift. Okay, here's the analyst call. Tesla, might as well just pull this up since we have it. Right here, Goldman Sachs upgraded Tesla to a buy from neutral and put a $780 price target on it. And Tesla right now closed yesterday at 568. It's gapping up about 4%. Overall, kind of crazy to think that, we had the split and everything. Don't need to go there. We need to go here. So this was FinViz that you're looking at. So we'll pull that up super quick. We had the stock split back in the August timeframe. Stocks tend to march higher after that on this crazy run. And then reality sets in. I can't remember the trigger event there in September, but sometimes things just get in front of themselves. Turbulence, and then there's the election, and then marching right back higher. So I do think we go higher in Tesla today. We're not going to trade it. However, can it maintain that? Let's take a look at some numbers. A traditional PE ratio, 18 is the normal, 21 is getting a little bit expensive. A tech stock, you might pay all the way up to 30. Yeah, it's up at 1100 PE. It's kind of crazy. However, with the earnings per share at 51 going up to, next quarter going all the way up to 87 cents a share, that's a pretty significant jump. So quick math says what, 60% jump there, if not a little bit higher, maybe 70, 75. So they're really making it. And if you heard about, they're starting to make more money is what I'm saying there. The bigger, if you saw Elon Musk email out, it was called the game of pennies email that he, mysteriously all these emails get leaked out to the press. Yeah, right. That's not a mystery at all. But anyhow, here you have second richest person in the world telling us folks that we need to cut costs, otherwise the stock's going to crash. He said several things before about how his stock is overpriced, and yeah, he's calling a crash in his own stock if they don't pinch pennies. So it's kind of funny hearing, billionaire telling the $100,000 to $200,000 folks they need to pinch pennies off of every corner. So kind of funny. But when you look at the performance, you cannot deny that this thing has been on fire. If you're part of this, then congratulations. And short float 6%, that's going to increase. There's going to be people that take the other side of this bet. But Elon Musk, he's kind of proven that he doesn't lose. So I'm not going to be in this category anymore. I already did enough time in 2020 trying to short Tesla. So I'm done with that. Okay, let's go over and take a look at the Schwab Street Smart Edge. And upper left, really, we have the same chart there in Tesla. Moving up, there's the split SP. You see it on the chart here. So that's what that signals kind of has to digest the split for a while, and then now we're marching back higher. Okay, let's take a look. I'm gonna get rid of myself there. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the pre-market movers and some names that we can potentially trade. We already talked about Palantir, so we're gonna hop in, and here it is on the right, up 4% now. So no news associated with this, so there's some risk when you don't have the news. Excuse me, headline pushing it higher. It came all the way down here to 22.51 where it closed, and that's up at 23.45. I think that it just shows that after falling from 33 down to 22, that's 30, almost 35% retracement. It's kind of poised to move higher on nothing other than now a reversion to the mean back higher. So if you would draw a regression line for the statistics folks out there, 33 was way out the top side, 22 is out the downside. At times like these, it's important to know that you're get rid of those folks. So I don't know. I think the move is higher there, so that's what we're going to take a look at. Okay. Also, we have fuel cell energy up 8%, so plenty of volume. Here is that chart. Again, no headline associated with it. But pretty strong move here from 724 up to 788. And look, we were just above 10 in this company, so I have to think that has room to go back higher as well. And then the last long we'll take a look at is OKTA, OKTA. A little bit light on the volume, so there's risk in this one from our strategy, but from 230 up to 247. So 230, 247, just kind of breaking off into the new highs. So if you take this long, you're thinking, okay, it is going to make new highs today. Multiple price target raises. Again, that's kind of what we're talking about today. They have an investor conference coming up, and of course they released their earnings there. So you can kind of see, you know, it's coming off a 2-day losing streak, up 6.4%, now 8%. So 9 brokerages raised their price targets on this thing. So OTOT, again, a little light on volume, so we might have to wait for just a second, but I think it goes higher as well. And again, kind of a tough price point up in the 200s. So you're looking at a $2.50 to $3 as far as your stop there. Okay, let's take a look at some other names here in top 10 in volume. None of those qualify other than the ones we talked about. Well, actually, Eaton Vance qualifies to the downside now. Let's take a look at that. Not going to dive through that headline. Don't really know much about Eaton Vance, but is gapping down there a little bit. Okay, some more stuff that's going higher. Talked about our OTOT. Here it is, highlighted there. Tesla's higher on the move. We're not going to trade that, though. Waddell Reed jumping 50%. We're not going to touch it, but merger agreement. Okay, they're not going to exist anymore. I've been in this stock a long time ago and left it because they weren't very good. So it's kind of good that they're merging. All right, let's see on the downside what we have here. AbbVie selling off 5%. That's low volume. Snowflake has the volume. It's not selling off quite enough as far as the gap down. So nothing to play there. Again, Jazz Pharmaceuticals, too light a volume to be able to take to the downside. So nothing really to the downside today. And that pains me because, you know, I like to be able to short going into these things. Okay, as far as what we have here, Switchback Energy, don't know what they do. They have the volume, they're gapping up. Don't know anything about that, so we aren't going to touch them. Longview Acquisition, same thing, don't know why, so we're just going to leave that. Embraer is an airplane maker. Again, no headline, nice small price point. If you want to trade this, you could go higher. I'm not touching airlines. Most people know that I will steer clear of that. All right, lastly, over to the NASDAQ, and then we'll get set up. There's our fuel cell that we talked about. Again, that's our number one play, up almost 10% at a nice, easy price point there. So get that pulled up. There we go. So anyhow, that's number one. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, off to Think Pipes to go ahead and get set up. Again, 3 longs. We got fuel cell with a 10-cent stop, should work for us. And then we have PLTR looking for a 25-cent stop, and then looking at the last one is OTOT. Again, $2.50, call it 3 to make it easy. 2 if you want to cut it nice and close there as far as the stop. So it's already moved up, you know, $15, $16 pre-market. So it needed about another $6 to $9 move higher to be able to qualify as our trade. All right, give me a second to get set up on my end with my tickers, and then we'll kick things off. All right, welcome to the On Time On Target play of the day. You have 4 screens in front of you. You have the SPY on the left-hand side. We'll zoom that in. That's the market on a 1-minute chart. We have 3 longs for you today, no shorts, 3 longs. We have Fuel Cell Energy. Again, price point, you need about a 10-cent stop. We have Palantir, basically bouncing for no reason other than it sold off 35% or so in the past few days. And then lastly, over here to the right, there's our opening bell. We have OTOT. We need to wait for the volume to come into OTOT. All right, as far as fuel cell, again, looking for 10-cent stop. We'll zoom in here. If this goes up to 810 or so, I'm going to take this long. If it sells off a little bit, that'd be even better before it turns around and flips long. Nice big green bar out of the motion, out of the overall market there. Okay, this one is selling down. I want to use a 10-cent stop. So the further down it goes, the better off we're going to be as far as our entry when it flips. Palantir's going back higher. I like that. It's just ripping higher. 795 is what we're going to use for going into fuel cell long. Fuel cell long, 795. 795. Waiting for it. Not quite yet. There it is, 795. I'm on another screen taking the trade. All right, 795. We are into. There I'm in. All right, 795 was our entry point. We are going long. This is a 10-cent stop, which is not quite below the low of the day, but I want to scalp this thing because I think it's going to pop higher here pretty quick. So 10-cent stop, so get it in there at 785 is where your stop point is. And let me get that set up for myself. Didn't have two tickers open. I only opened the one. All right, and I have that set up. All right, that's where we're looking at. 1R is 805, so we're already past that. 2R is 815, and if it hits 825, we're going to be out. So let's hope for 825. We'll get right back out of this trade and call it a day. So there, everything is drawn this morning. Again, 785 is that bottom stop. So obviously you see there's a ton of volume flowing into this thing. So we'll play it by ear here. Okay, the market's going higher. That's kind of nice. You got the S&P in the green. Palantir going higher. That I like that. And you also have OTOT going higher. So kind of everything's up just about the same amount there. So I like that across the board. Looking at another screen, let's see, the Dow up 0.2, S&P up 0.06, and NASDAQ up 0.25. So tech, again, outperforming a little bit. And that's what you see out of this Palantir trade as well. All right, so looking good there in Palantir. OTOT, nice move up again, not quite the multiple R move that we wanted, but hanging in there. Market doing good. We're back at our entry point on fuel cell, so we're just going to let it get there. And remember, have that lower stop in to make sure you're out of this trade if it hits it. So keep your finger close by. We'll keep that pulled up while we look at some other names that are out there. Splunk was a name. Get ready. There we're out of the fuel cell trade. So minus an R on the day for F cell. So it'll be interesting to see if it holds the 781 low of the day. Then that will be on me for making a 10-cent stop instead of 14. So we'll see if that holds. Keep it up there out of curiosity. All right, Palantir going higher. We like that. Let's see. Splunk was a short. It was down 20% earlier. That is down close to 24% now. So kind of rolled over. Splunk's a pretty strong name. I'm not sure I would short that. The other option for shorting was GHLD, which didn't have the volume and still doesn't have the volume, so can't really short that. And then DADA, DADA, which I don't know what they do, was also another short that I looked at and didn't like because it doesn't have the volume to move to the downside. So 50 cents. Yeah, it's about a 2-hour move there for working for the downside. And you can see the market flipping in the red for the last minute or so. All right, other names long that I had on my list, ESTC. Up 10%, but not really moving. And then what else? SIG. Signet Jewelers, not moving. MIK, Michael's company, it's craft maker. Gapped up, but certainly not going any higher. Let's see. Let's check on Tesla while we're here. See how Tesla's doing. Not really moving higher, so I think there's a lot of people that probably took this trade at the beginning of the day, and it's not working out for them. So glad we didn't touch that. And then here, let me show you something. LIZI. I looked at this hard too. I couldn't get myself to trade it. So this is it's a Japanese audio company, and they just got a contract with Lee Automotive to be able to put all of their in stereo equipment into the cars that are coming out of Lee Automotive. And yeah, they were up 100% at their high. They've gone, basically drifted back from that, but kind of crazy move in that stock, LIZI. So that's a name that I will be on the lookout for more. Again. All right, here's our trade again. We're busted out of it at 785 again, even though it looked good. Look at that, all the way down here to where if I had gone below the low of the day of that tick right there down to 781, it still would not have worked. I don't sit there and trade the stock over and over in the day, but whenever this thing settles out, if you wanted to turn around and flip back along, that this was setting up kind of beautifully for that nice big rip higher. So we'll check back on it before we check out today. All right, let's take a look at some names in play. I'm looking at the upper left-hand chart here. LCA is already supposed to have become Golden Nugget Online Gaming at the end of November. So just waiting for the ticker change. Again, that's a SPAC that you're in. Palantir, we've been looking at, that's at that 6%. Tesla, we talked about. Boeing, I didn't realize was popping up as much today. Again, I do like Boeing. It got down to below 100. Now it's up at what, 231. So more than a double for those who had the stomach to buy an airplane maker back in the March timeframe. Good on you, or good on you if you just held. And, that's one of those. Hold on to Boeing. You have a defense exposure, and you also have an airline exposure. So two ways to win. PSTH is a name that you've been buying lately. This is Bill Ackman's SPAC. Kramer's actually on CNBC right now talking about speculation instead of speculation. So, and this is Bill Ackman, Pershing Square Tontine Holdings. So kind of a funny name, but remember your SPAC companies are ones that basically they're called blank check companies. You give them your money and then they turn around and buy a company and kind of take it public or through like a direct listing. CIBR, you may know that name. That's one of the investable theme index funds we've been talking about for cybersecurity. Obviously, I think cybersecurity is only going to make more money, if you will, over time. Tencent Holdings, Asana, CRM, kind of bouncing off the merger news. K-Web, Alibaba, I love both those names right now. Pretty much buying them hand over fist. All right. On the downside, we have NEO, the car maker, Northwest Bio. It's weird. Northwest Bio was up 10% pre-market. DraftKings selling off a little bit. Do not worry about your DraftKings. We'll pull the chart real quick. It got up to around 50 or so. So 53, what's that, 3 days ago? It's hanging out at 50. Don't you worry about your DraftKings. All right, Camping World Holdings. I didn't know this, but Marcus Lemonis, the prophet from CNBC, if you ever watched that show, and I know the Predator's pretty red end on a lot of this stuff. He's the CEO of Camping World Holdings and has not gotten any love recently. So kind of weird. There's Nikola. That's a name that's been in the news. BNTX is the, again, drug maker with Pfizer releasing the vaccine. So some names in the red, but nothing moving major to the downside. All the big moves are to the upside. All right, check back at our chart real quick. Yep, I kind of had a feeling after a 5-minute drop. We were talking about it right here. Remember, this was the 5th red down bar. There's a trading philosophy on that 5 red down. Same thing with 5 green is you reverse on the next one. It looks like some folks had done that. That's still only a 20-cent move off the bottom. Certainly not safe. It's not screaming higher by any means. Okay. Let's take a look at the upgrade and downgrade system. I have to type it in real quick. I closed out my screen earlier. And let's switch back over to it. I'll come back on camera and we'll talk about, okay, so stock analysts. Yep, we are shared out. That is good. And me. Okay, so stock analysts. So these are people literally, they get paid to chase their tail is what I call it. So You can see an upgrade refers to the positive change in an analyst's outlook for a particular security's valuation based on primarily on the security's improving fundamentals. Okay, if you could read that line like I did without dying laughing inside, thinking that the Goldman Sachs just upgraded Tesla based on the security's improving fundamentals, really? No, they did not base it on that, but that's what they're supposed to be based on because we're supposed to be able to trust these people. So take a stock out there that's at 100 and you're an analyst and you put 100 and say you put a $90 price target on it and you put a sell on it and the thing goes screaming higher to 140. Well, at some point you can't keep your $90 price target because you're probably going to get fired, right? And because you look stupid, even if you believe that's where the stock belongs. So when it gets to 140, you upgrade your price target to 120, but you keep a sell rating on it, right? So anyhow, they're chasing their tail. There's really not much stock you can put into it unless some analyst goes, hey, I was wrong, and you move the price target from 90 to like 200 and you give it a buy rating, but then you have to say the words I'm wrong. And analysts say the words I'm wrong about the same amount of time as politicians say the words I'm wrong. For some reason, they don't have that in their vocabulary. Like I started our show, I've been wrong on Tesla for the beginning of time, and I'm probably only going to get wronger because I like that word. But it's easy to admit, right? Because it's a fact. For some reason, though, in the analyst world, they cannot admit ever that they were wrong. They simply chase their tail with these upgrades and the downgrades. They do. Good question, Predator. So the question is, do analysts get to meet with company management and possibly draw out any new information? Yes, they get to do it 4 times a year, though, and only 4 times. Because you don't, otherwise you would have, whoever has a relationship with the C-suite or the CEO would get an unfair advantage, right? So, when you have earnings season and companies, for the most part, release earnings once a quarter, you have the earnings release, which is at the exact fractional of a second that it's announced, and it goes boom, it hits the web with the earnings, whether they beat or not, and the revenue, whether they beat or not, and whether management is guiding up or down for their future guidance. So that happens, and there's all kinds of algorithmic trading programs out there that trade off of that. So that happens. And about an hour later is when they have a conference call. It's during that conference call, it starts off with a big compliance paragraph, and then generally you have the CEO saying a paragraph or 2 worth of material. Then you have the CFO come on there. Sometimes they have the CFO lead with the numbers, and then the CEO says a few words, and basically turn it over to the analysts at that point. And again, it's a true conference call, so you can be an analyst at home. You don't have to sit in a room and raise your hand like the old days. But that's where they get to ask all their questions. That goes on for about an hour. It doesn't go on endlessly. And I don't know how they figure out, whether it's like the president picking and choosing who he calls upon, but that's where that information comes out. And all of those analysts are trying to ask pointed questions so they can make accurate upgrades or downgrades of the stock based off of the information they receive. All of that is public information. It's all available to you just as fast as it is to them. In other words, you can listen along live on the internet. There's generally a live transcription. So if you have an algorithm that goes through print and looks for keywords, then, Facebook, the first time he says Oculus, okay, that's the VR firm they bought, then the stock will rage higher, right? That was kind of the old algorithm trade of the day. Yes, that's true. Question, are those open to all? Yep, it's internet based. So you can listen right along. Now, you cannot chime in if that's what you're asking. The Predator has a question. No, I don't get to either, even though I'm in the industry. So there's some barrier to entry to be able to ask questions. So back to what we have here. Positive change would be an upgrade. Obviously, a downgrade would be the opposite of that. All right, I was going to see if they have the list up here. They do not have the list. So there's there's the buy, sell, and hold. That there's also, those are the kind of the 3 that you can understand. And then there's overweight and underweight. So overweight is not as strong as a buy it's between buy and hold, right? So you have overweight, meaning it's not an outright buy, but you can start to nibble and build more of a position and go overweight into that stock. Same thing, they have underweight out there that goes the opposite direction. It's not quite a sell, but you might want to start trimming this stock in preparation that things aren't trending well, but it's not necessarily an outright sell. So those are kind of the 5 things that come out of the different upgrade and downgrade cycle. Think I'm overweight, and usually that isn't considered good. Well, true when you're talking personal health, but if you're talking overweight in Apple stock or Palantir or DraftKings or Neo or any of the other names that have been on fire, it's a pretty good place to be. So, all right, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for listening in. Sorry our trade didn't work out. I got to show you the stupid trade again before I cut out, just so you can see. Stupid trade. Yeah, the trade is all the way when you look from, let me back out here. So you look from where we took it here at 795, went up over an R, almost, touched 2 R's there for a second, went all the way back down, busted us out of the trade all the way through the bottom of the day. And no matter where we put the stop, we would have busted out there. And then of course, after the 5 red bars down, boom, here's a 3R trade. If you use 10 cent from down here, anywhere in here, you have a 3R trade going back higher. So a little bit frustrating there, but hey, if it was straightforward, then everybody would do it, and it'd be easy, and it's not. Plus, it wouldn't work if everybody was doing it. So trust the system. We're still up an R on the week, and we've got tomorrow to go. All right, talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Have a